Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. In today's episode, today's moving truck day. If you've ever wondered why in the world they need tractor trailers for spring training, well, I'll break down exactly what the Phils are bringing with them as we draw closer to spring training 2024. Also, the Phillies have made some waiver claims. Are there anything that we should be worried about when it comes to the major league level, or were they ancillary moves? I'll break them down in today's episode and on our opening day countdown. We're 49 days away from opening day, and a guy with a masterful single-game pitching performance is on our list at 49. We'll get into that on today's episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, your host. Thank you so much for checking us out. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts or subscribing to the YouTube. That really helps us out here on Locked On Phillies. So if you enjoy the content, subscribing is the best way to say, well, you enjoy the content. So I appreciate everyone who's already done that. It takes like 2 seconds, costs you no money, gets you notifications when the episodes are posted. It's just a very simple thing you can do to help me out and help us here on Locked On Out. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Now, I found this very interesting, right? Because today is Moving Truck Day 2024. This is when the Phillies pack up everything outside of Citizens Bank Park, and they say, we're putting them in trucks, we're driving them down to Florida, we're going to go to work for the spring. I always thought it's kind of weird when I see the moving trucks, like an organization like the Philadelphia Phillies, you're paying multiple guys on this roster, $300+ million over the length of their total contract, and you need to ship stuff down there. Like, you don't have stuff down in Clearwater, but I guess it wouldn't make sense to have it. I listen, I don't really get it. I imagine the Philadelphia Phillies would have been in a position where they don't have to ship stuff as a major league team, but I mean, still, this is how they do it. This is how they've always done it. And I've always wondered what goes into it. Well, the numbers are staggering. So if you're like me and you want to think about spring training and the warm weather and the waves just brushing up against Clearwater Beach and just what it would be like to be down there at spring training and how close we are, well, we're going to talk about what goes into those trucks. It's staggering. It's a fun look behind the scenes of what goes on getting ready for spring training. And also in a time of the season where you're really not having a lot of news break on the Philadelphia Phillies. It's a fun little look ahead at what's to come. So 8 a.m. this morning, the truck and its trailers were loaded up. Listen to some of these numbers because it's insane. 10,000 plastic cups. That's just it. 10,000 cups? Are you like, you don't have cups down there? That makes no sense to me. 2,400 baseballs. That one feels light. Like, I feel like you're going to go through more. They throw out baseballs every 2 seconds. I can't imagine what it's like in practice. I guess they just keep using them. But 2,400 baseballs. 2,000 short and long sleeve shirts. 2,000 each. Like, are you kidding me? How do you need 2,000 shirts? I've seen the list of invites. I've seen the coaches who are going to be down there. Like, you don't need 2,000 shirts, long sleeve and short sleeve. They must go through like a new shirt every day. Could you imagine what it would be like if you wore a shirt once and then just threw it away? I feel like Mariah Carey does that. She doesn't wear an outfield twice, or an outfit. Did I say outfield? Well, baseball Freudian slip. An outfit twice. But the Philadelphia Phillies have no trouble finding new shirts. It must be nice to be a professional athlete. Then 1,200 bats. They're going to be breaking some this year. And Rob Thompson has talked about new approaches to spring training, including a lot more bats that feel live or are in simulated games or are in the actual games where they play other competitions. So hopefully 1,200 bats is enough to get them through that. I mean, listen, 900 pairs of socks, 600 pairs of pants. I don't know how the pants don't match up with the shirts, but these are staggering numbers just to show you the stuff that goes through the trouble. Like, did you see the new batting practice hats yet? If you haven't seen them, so they've got this cool pattern on them where it's almost like not like corduroy, but like quilted. And the batting practice hats have the Fanatic, like a Fanatic logo with his tongue sticking out. Actually super cool. You can look at them for purchase. They're blue with the Fanatic on them. I think they're fresh as anything, so go ahead and check them out. But they're sending 600 batting practice hats down there. I mean, how do you need 600 hats? I guess they get 30. 300 batting gloves. I mean, you're sending 200 fleeces. Now, I know it's February right now, but it's Clearwater. I was just down in Tampa a couple weeks ago. You're not going to need the fleeces. 200 light jackets. Like, I feel like the Phillies for spring training are the girlfriend that shows up for like a 2-day trip with 2 suitcases. It's like, what could you have possibly put in there? She's like, I've got 140 batting helmets. I needed these for our trip to Tampa. It's like, I don't know, man. It feels a little bit over packing for the Philadelphia Phillies, but they should know exactly what they need. 75 pairs of assorted spike, plastic, and turf shoes. So that shows you that they go through shoes a little bit less. 40 heavy jackets. I guess everyone gets a heavy jacket, but my goodness, it's Florida. And here's the crazy thing, right? They only bring 20 coolers. You're bringing more jackets than you're bringing coolers to Clearwater for spring training? Guys, you know what the weather's going to be like. Finally, several bikes are going down there. I'm going to be honest. I have no idea what the bikes are used for. I guess they ride them around. I guess they're just given to players. It's absolutely wild, the magnitude of items that get packed for a spring training to happen. You'd think they would have something down there, have enough stuff down there that they could get through spring training, but maybe the storage doesn't make sense. The logistics doesn't make sense, but the total trip of the truck, as far as mileage, 1,058 miles from Citizens Bank Park down to Baycare Park in Clearwater, Florida, right next to the Phillies complex where they have spring training every year. And it's wild how much stuff goes into it. I've seen I was already stunned, right? Because sometimes I'll get a chance to be down in the locker room. Like I can go down whenever, but I work at a radio station, so I don't always get to games. I go when I can. And I'll be down and I'll see like them packing up stuff for a road trip. Or if I'm going to the visitors' locker room, I'll see them packing up their stuff from their trip, 3-day stay. And there's a lot of equipment just for road trips. So I guess it makes sense they have a bunch for spring training. But if you ever saw those trucks and you're like, I wonder why they have all these trailers full of stuff. It's because you need 10,000 cups. And I'm not talking about the ones that you wear for protection if you're playing baseball. No, the drinking kind, which I figured they'd have. A lot of baseballs and bats and everything you would need. Think about when you buy stuff for your kids. If you have kids that play baseball or softball or anything of the like, think about the amount that equipment costs you and the struggle it is to pack all that stuff up. You basically have to get an SUV just to bring your kids to sports practice. Could you imagine like the financial commitment and the logistical commitment of actually packing for spring training? It's monstrous. So I think it's cool to find these little inside stories about what goes on and just like the people behind the people. By the way, I forgot to mention, but yesterday was National Girls and Women's in Sports Day. And that's a major holiday for anyone who works in the industry as a female, who plays a sport as a female. I mean, we are so lucky to be in a world where women have such representation in the sports talk industry, in covering sports, in playing sports, in everything. There's never been a better time than today for women to be a part of the industry of sports, whether that's playing, working, covering, any of that stuff. I know we have a lot of great women who do great stuff in the city of Philadelphia sports-wise, and they deserve their credit, absolutely. I didn't get a chance to mention that on yesterday's episode, so I want to throw that love out there to the ladies who do everything that it takes to keep sports running and bring it to another level. Of course, we can still continue to do better with inclusion, so I'm always pro giving opportunities for females to work in sports and that to grow so that they can have the representation they deserve. But there's so many talented women out there around just sports in general. And the reason I think about that too is not that they're behind the scenes, but sometimes it's not the proper amount of credit given. And sometimes as well for people who do stuff like packing these trucks for spring training, work on the logistics for stuff. There's a lot of things that go into a sports franchise existing that we don't think about on the day-to-day. So I like to, when I see a story like this, and I'm reading something off MLB.com on this Truck Day story. I know people get excited for Truck Day because it reminds you spring training is right around the corner. Pitchers and catchers will report on Valentine's Day, the 14th. It's just a taste of not only spring training is soon, but a little bit of props to people that we don't talk about all that often. And it's the folks that work through all the logistical equipment issues. And while I was thinking about people who don't get enough credit, I wanted to go ahead and give some love on the day after National Girls and Women in Sports Day to the females out there who do a lot of great things for sports around the country, around the world, and also especially here in Philadelphia. So just a fun little side topic story there in case you were inquisitive like I was. Now, coming up as we continue today's episode, the Phillies made some waiver claims. Now, they're minor moves. So you might be looking at it and saying, well, I don't get why they did this. Well, it doesn't really kill you to do waiver claims. And there's some interesting names that they brought in. Two guys I'm going to talk about coming up, an infielder and a pitcher. Will we see them at the major league level in 2024? It might be a possibility. So we'll discuss that coming up as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about my friends over at Gametime. I haven't told you about Gametime in a minute, but you know the deal with Gametime. It's the best place to go ahead and take care of tickets. I mean, there are plenty of times where you see a game and you're like, man, I wish I could go to that. But I thought about it last minute. Tickets are going to be crazy expensive or really hard to come by. You don't have to worry about that stuff with Gametime. Gametime is super easy, and they're the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. They take care of everything. You can see the view from your seat before you buy. You got all-in prices that show you your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. You can buy tickets quickly in seconds. It takes like 2 taps on your phone. You got tickets. And they've got deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. I mean, what's more to want from Gametime? Okay, you want flash deals? They got it. You want zone deals, so you're sure you're getting the best seat, best row, best price? They got it. You want a Gametime guarantee that pays you 110% of the difference if you can find tickets in your row and section for less? They've got it. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So I've had a couple people asking me about this, right? What are the Philadelphia Phillies doing with the waiver claims? And have they made any? Because people aren't as up to date. Waiver claims are kind of that less thought of issue when it comes to the offseason. We're more focused on free agency. We're more focused on trades, and waiver claims are what they are. You're getting players that other teams didn't want, but sometimes you can find diamonds in the rough. So the Phillies have made 2 claims this week in waivers. Let's start with the infielder. So first off, the Phillies claimed an infielder from the Yankees to fill a roster spot. So you know that the Phillies are looking for depth, and you know that they could use some potential help in the infield. That's why Josh Harrison was here this past year. He didn't really play all that much, but you can never have too many guys in Major League experience. And they claimed Diego Castillo off the Yankees waivers earlier in the week. So he's 26. He's kind of bounced around. He's got 96 games at the major league level in which he slashed 206, 251, 382. Now, he had 11 home runs in those 96 games, but batting 206 at the major league level is not going to make you a Major League Baseball player. So this is a guy that is probably not going to play at the major league level, Diego Castillo. But he's got 96 games of experience. With the Pittsburgh Pirates back in 2022 is when he played those games. And then he was with the Arizona Diamondbacks last year, but only played in 1 major league game. He's a journeyman infielder, young guy, and maybe one that the Phillies look at and say, okay, we'll put him in the minors and see what happens. And he's played at the major league level. So if we have injury Armageddon, like I'm wearing my Sixers t-shirt right now, if you're not watching on YouTube, NBA trade deadline today, and the Sixers are on injury Armageddon. You never know when you're going to have like 2 or 3 infielders go down at the same time and just get unlucky and might need someone who has major league experience. So the Phillies added him to the 40-man roster. They went ahead and they moved Simon Muzziotti they DFA'd him because they had to move him off the 40-man roster to create space for Diego Castillo. So that went ahead and happened. And then Now, the other guy that the Phillies have claimed is Max Castillo, a right-handed pitcher formerly with the Boston Red Sox, 24 years of age. He was 0-1 with a 4.43 ERA in 20 and a third innings. He had 7 relief appearances with the Kansas City Royals last season. The Red Sox had claimed him on January 2nd, and they placed him on waivers. Now the Phillies have claimed him. 20 and a third innings at the major league level last year is not anything crazy, but when you look at it and you say, okay, what are the Phillies doing? They're bringing in a young guy, 24 years of age, that can be in the minor leagues no problem, that has major league experience. The 4.43 ERA isn't miserable. Like, if you're relying on Max Castillo for multiple innings at the major league level this year with how good this bullpen should be, that's an issue. But if you're looking at Max Castillo and you're saying, put him in the minors, see what he's got. He's 24. Maybe he develops into a major league reliever. Maybe we work with him and trust our system. Dave Dombrowski retooled the system for a reason, to trust development more. Like, these are super low risk, minimal reward type of moves. But if the reward outweighs the potential risk, then you got to make the move. And I think in both of these cases, they do. You're not claiming guys who are 27-year-old journeymen minor leaguers, never been up to the majors. You're bringing in guys with deficiencies who have played at the major league level, who you can now put in your minor league system as break in case of emergency type of guys. That's basically all it is. So that's all waivers are anyway. It's very rare that you see a name that you recognize on waivers getting moved around. And here's what we learned from that, right? The Phillies, by doing that, are telling you a little bit of what they're focused on. They're still focused on pitching. You can never have enough. Now, Castillo isn't really like a swingman guy where he can start. He's been a bullpen guy at the major league level. So I don't think he's the typical profile of what the Phillies are looking for, but we know they're looking to continue to add pitching. You can never have too many pitching options with major league experience. And infield-wise, I think it shows you that they're claiming guys off waivers. Like, they wouldn't claim an outfielder off waivers. They need somebody at the major league level who can be a bench bat better than Jake Cave. Infield, me seeing them claim sorry, I already forgot the guy's name. I mean, forgive me, because these are, like I said, guys that don't really ever break into the major leagues in any type of capacity. Castillo, sorry, they're both Castillo. That's what threw me off. Diego Castillo and Max Castillo. My goodness. They always got to make it difficult. Diego Castillo, seeing them claim him is me looking at it and saying, okay, they're not looking to add infield at the major league level. They're looking to add depth in case something goes terribly wrong, which means if you're going to get a position player at the major league level, it's going to be an outfielder. And if you get a pitcher at the major league level, it's going to be either a starter or a bullpen guy with swing ability. Or there have been some rumors, and I'm going to talk about them in tomorrow's episode, about Kenley Jansen potentially being tradable by the Boston Red Sox. And the Phillies have been mentioned as a team that could be interested. Do the Phillies go out and get Kenley Jansen? We'll see, because he seems to make sense for them. But I have something interesting to say on that. But the waivers, nothing crazy to write home about. Just a couple of things, because people were asking. I wanted to update you on what the Philadelphia Phillies are doing so that you're aware where the team is at as they draw ever closer to spring training and ever closer to opening day. So coming up, we're going to continue our opening day countdown. Number 49 in a Phillies jersey. Who's the best to ever wear it? Got a pick for you coming up. And we'll break that down as we wrap up Locked On Phillies. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Now, the Super Bowl is just a couple days away. And if you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing some snacks, placing some bets. You can bet a whole bunch of different stuff. I love to bet the coin toss, the color of the Gatorade, all kinds of different stuff. FanDuel's got all those fun prop bets. They also got the normal bets, right? So when you watch Super Bowl 58, you can bet on which players will score a touchdown, how many points are going to be scored, so much more. The over-under for points were for individual team, the spread. I mean, just who's flat out going to win. You can bet all of this stuff as well as player props and so much more. New customers too. You join today, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Go ahead and do that before the Super Bowl. You win your first $5 bet, you got $200 to spend in bonus bets on Super Bowl bets. How great is that? So just visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, countdown to opening day, March 28th. I'm going to say that date a billion times before it gets here because, man, I just can't wait for it to get here. And we've been doing a fun little countdown of all-time Phillies based on uniform number corresponding to how many days we have till opening day. So yesterday, our guy at 50 was Jamie Moyer, one of my favorite Philadelphia Phillies and favorite athletes of all time, which means today we're on to number 49 in the countdown. Now, 26 players have worn the number 49 for the Philadelphia Phillies. And credit to our YouTube commenters. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly who commented this. You know who you are. It was on one of my most recent videos, and he said, we'd love to see you read some of the players that weren't selected because I always just pick the best Philly with that number. So number 49, there are some interesting potential picks. Jake Arrieta wasn't that good here, but was good in his career. Vance Worley, you guys remember the Vanimal? He wore 49. Jose Mesa, if you're a fan of the early 2000s Phillies. I mean, there are some interesting names here if you go back, but there's one who it's got to be. And this is another guy who I'm friends with, worked with professionally. Love this guy. Good dude to talk to. Tommy Green is going to be my pick for best Philly to wear number 49. And simply it's because he threw a no-hitter back in 1991 against the Montreal Expos. How many guys have a major league no-hitter on their resume? Very few, and none other that wore 49 for the Philadelphia Phillies. So Tommy Green, who wore 49 from 1990 to 1995 for the Philadelphia Phillies, is my pick for the breakdown, or the countdown, rather, to opening day. The best Philly to ever wear 49. There's still slim pickings where we're up. Do you want Michael Plasmeyer from the 2022-2023 Philadelphia Phillies? I mean, he got an NL championship ring. But when we get lower in the countdown, we're going to run into more guys who have worn the uniform and it'll get tougher picks. But yes, again, 49 days till opening day, March 28th, and the best Philly ever to wear 49, in my opinion, Tommy Green, Mr. No-Hitter from the 91 Phillies. So appreciate you checking in. Tomorrow we'll move on to 48. We'll see. And I'll also, like I was saying, break down those Kenley Jansen rumors. There's more to this than the average Philadelphia Phillies rumor, I think, since they still need bullpen help. But we'll see how you feel about it. So we'll get into that coming up. Appreciate you tuning in for this latest episode of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing. I'll tell you again, subscribe to the YouTube, please. It really helps me out, helps us out here on Locked On. If you enjoy the content, that's the best way to say thank you. And it gets you notifications when new episodes are posted, so you don't have to worry about searching back and like, oh, when's Connor posting this episode? No, it'll buzz right on your phone when you subscribe to Locked On Phillies. So go ahead and do that for me. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And again, I really appreciate you tuning in. So thank you so much. That's all for today's episode. So I'll talk to you again tomorrow for the next episode of Locked On Phillies.